Welcome to You Know Me, a podcast of the Golden Isles. Hey, Buddha, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing good.
Everything going good?
It's going well. It's going quick, man. I can't believe we're almost at the end of February, for crying out loud.
I know January was such a long month,
It
and
was a
now,
long month, but it was a blur.
yeah, and now we have February. And as the weather gets warmer, a lot of different stuff, different events are happening around Golden
Yep.
Isles.
Different stuff, people getting out and doing things.
Yeah, it's
Um,
my favorite when all this stuff starts happening.
Oh yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of things going on. And there's a lot of things that you can be part of.
Correct. Yes.
For one place you can be part of is the Rotary Club on Golden Isles, and that's always fun. If you're looking for something to do, to get involved, Rotary Club is where you do it, and we have someone here that can talk about that and some events that are coming up through the Rotary Club. Marjorie, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Rotary Club here on St. Simons in the Golden Isles?
Sure. Hi, my name's Marjorie Mathieu. I'm the current president of the Golden Isles Rotary Club. There are actually 4 clubs in this county. There's one on Jekyll. It's a breakfast club. There's our club, which is also a breakfast club. It meets at the hospital every Wednesday morning at 7:30. And then there are 2 lunch clubs. There's one on St. Simons and one in Brunswick. And we collaborate on some projects, but this particular project is the property of the Golden Isles Rotary Club. And I think this is maybe the 24th or so annual red hot chili cook-off.
Oh, the Red Hot Chili Kickoff.
It's one of my favorite events is the chili cook-off. Yeah, my son actually he looks forward to it every year. So how many years again has it been going?
It's more than 20. I know we lost 1 year due to COVID.
That's right, yeah.
The first COVID year, we held it the first Saturday in March, as we always do, and the next week is when they shut everything down. So we got that one in, but we missed the 2020. And we were approaching our 20-year anniversary that next year. So I want to say 23, 24 years that the club has sponsored this event and run it. It used to be part of we followed the national chili cook-off rules. We've lightened that up a little bit, but a great community event. We get over 2,000 attendees in the little village.
Yeah.
We have live music. We have usually 20 to 30 chili teams that donate their time. They bring 15 gallons of chili each to the event, and they decorate their booths because there's a prize for that. And we have blind judging, and then we have people's choice judging, which is a fierce competition where the folks on the chili teams try to get the tickets that are given to the participants into their little bucket, which we count at the end of the event, and we give prizes. And we have chili pots that are like traveling pots that get to reside at the winner's place of business until the following year, and we go back and collect them back.
So it's like the Stanley Cup of chili.
It is. It is.
I love
And there's a prize for, I think, the most unique chili. There are several sort of different prizes besides just the blind judging and then the people's choice. And we award those all at the end of the event about 2:30 in the afternoon. But
So is this something that the Rotary Club, like the National Rotary Club, came up with the chili rules? And you mentioned the chili cook-off.
no, I guess there are actually chili cook-offs. And someone told me once upon a time, Brunswick, New Hampshire, or Maine, or some Brunswick, Maine, I guess it would be. There was like a competition. They would actually take the winning chili and compete elsewhere. We don't do that anymore. But the deal is, back when you followed the national rules, which was just a national chili cook-off competition, you had to prepare the chili on site, which meant you had to bring the ingredients, put it together, and we policed that. If you brought your chili already cooked, you got disqualified. We used the chili, but they couldn't win any prizes.
Wow.
Well, as time goes on and it gets more expensive to produce that much chili, and you're asking a lot of these folks. I mean, they're getting the visibility, but that's just a lot.
It is.
We decided we weren't taking our winner any further. So we said, if you want to bring the chili already prepared, heat it up here, whatever. We draw the first samples for the blind judging at 11 a.m. And then the event itself is from 11:30 to 2. It's in Postel Park in front of the casino there on St. Simons Island. And like I said, we have in excess of 2,000 participants every year besides the chili teams and volunteers and whatever. But it's so we did lighten up the rules a little bit just to get folks to participate.
Yeah. Well, I know chili always tastes better the next day anyway. Come on.
It's true.
Well, some folks would bring the ingredients, like they might have pre-cooked the meat, and they would have, but they had to assemble it on site. So they didn't necessarily start with all, but some folks started with all raw ingredients and put it together. But that's tough to do and have it ready by 11 o'clock. Like you said, sometimes the next day it tastes better anyway, while the flavors get a chance to kind of blend and whatnot. But so again, they can make the day before, whatever. We're the main idea is just for folks to have fun, sample the chili, and then of course the proceeds go back to all local agencies that we contribute the funds back, everything that we make on it. So
it's all a fundraiser.
Yes, it's every club has their own idea about fundraising. My particular club, they don't really want to sell stuff. And so this has been something that's kind of been easy to do. It's some work, but everybody in the club participates in some way or another, even if they're going to be out of town that day or whatever. They'll do something, but whether it's recruiting sponsors for the event, finding chili teams, working that day. We have a Coke wagon on site, and we also cook hot dogs and things for folks that may not want chili or want to augment that. We have a little Coke wagon and some tables for folks to participate in that as well, if they're not chili eaters or even if they are. So we have beverages there. And like I said, we have live music. The Stingrays have played for us a bunch of years in a row. And people just enjoy the live music. People bring their pets out. We have lucked out weather-wise for all the years that I've been involved in it. I think last year, when I was at president's training in Atlanta, sadly the president-elect misses the year before they take office because they have a training for all the presidents in the district in Atlanta, and it's always the first weekend of March, the same as the chili cook-off. But my understanding is last year it might have rained up until the time of the event, but then the sun came out and it was great. One year I attended the very end. People were already leaving, but I remember us dumping the water off the tops of the tents because it rained, but it was after the event was over. So but weather-wise, we have lucked out. This weekend so far, the forecast is high of 68, less than a 5% chance of rain. So we're feeling pretty good about that. And that, to me, is kind of the rate determining step, because if you got good weather, people are going to come out. If not, they're going to say, I'm not going to go out and trudge around in the rain to eat chili. They're gonna call it off. And you can buy tickets in advance online. We have an Eventbrite site that you can get them. You can buy them from any Rotarian, or you can come and get your tickets the day of the event. It's $10, and again, all the proceeds. But hopefully, the sponsorships that we've obtained pretty much cover the cost of putting on the event. The rental of the park and the tables and chairs we have to rent, and those sorts of things. We have a lot of volunteer help, and then the proceeds from the chili cook-off itself is what we're able to give back to local agencies in the community.
That's excellent.
What charities do you give those?
Well, it varies. The process is this. We actually developed an application process, and so we notify all the agencies that anybody in the club can think of that, mainly agencies that benefit children and families. We've just kind of taken that posture, although that's not a hard and fast rule. But we send out a little one-page application. It's really pretty easy. They should be a 501c3 or organization. We ask them, what would you do with the money? What other fundraisers do you have? Those sorts of questions, nothing too onerous. And we have an allocations committee that's just a subsection of the club that once we receive those back, and usually it's by the time we get all the financials and paid all the bills, usually over the summer, we get together and look at, what our requests are and how much money we have made on the event, and then we dole the money back out. And last year, I think it was one of our meetings in December, we invited all the agencies to come to a meeting and just spend 2 minutes, except for, I think there were 13 or 14 of them. To receive their check, and they all kind of know each other. It's that's kind of a family of organizations. But last year we were able to help the SOAR organization, and they help people that have some developmental disabilities and get them out to events and help them socialize. Skylark, which is they do a lot with pregnancy planning and that sort of thing. The Golden Isles Youth Orchestra, Grace House, which deals with women who are recovering that need to get back into the workforce, and they help them with attending meetings and that sort of thing. the Grandparent Connection of the Coastal Coalition for Children, which is an organization that helps grandparents that ultimately end up raising their grandchildren because various reasons that the parents are unable, and a lot of them are on fixed incomes, and they do some great things with support groups and helping grandparents work through the getting legal custody so they can qualify for insurance and get the kids' grades at school and all of that. Sparrow's Nest, which is the local food pantry, one of the local food pantries, Coastal Outreach Soccer, CASA, Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
We also, one of the projects, it's not purely Rotary, but many of our Rotarians have been intimately involved with the Veterans Village, which is actually having its grand opening Saturday after next. They had some needs as they got that village together of them. So they've been a recipient just the last couple of years. Saved by Grace, which I believe helps some homeless folks. The Coastal Georgia Honor Flight. Again, we have a member that's been in charge of the guardians of that program for several years. And to be a guardian, you have to pay. And some folks want to be a guardian, but they don't have the means to help fund the trip. And so we provided a couple scholarships so that they would have enough guardians to go with the veterans on the trip, which is, I've done that, by the way. It's a really heartwarming experience. I'll just say that. Yeah. Golden Isles Live, which while they offer programs, they actually had one last night at the Ritz Theater, they also offer a student enrichment program where when they bring these entertainers in, they had 450 children yesterday from the school system come by bus to the Ritz Theater to see the group perform, and they learn about their instruments. They learn, it's just to get kids interested to see what else is out there. And they do that a couple of times a year. I think they offer 5 concerts, but I think 2 or 3 of them, they actually open the door in the afternoon to local school children.
That's really cool.
Yeah, they know about
So
that.
again, he felt like that sort of fit with our mission. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and the Hope 1312 Collective, which I think is a organization which is relatively new to me, and I believe they were first-time recipients. They pull together resources from various churches to help with folks in need, and they just kind of link those folks together. So anyway, again, they change somewhat from year to year, but we have some folks that have that repeat. They file the application and they kind of look. Some of these agencies really do run on a shoestring, and they, even if you give them $1,000 or $1,500, I mean, it means a lot to them to help them keep their organizations up and running.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, have you ever been a judge on one of these chili contests?
I was a judge of the Stubilee one year. No, I'll tell you, we pull the judges typically, and I think this year they're going to honor Woody Woodside because he was a judge for,
Really?
I think maybe every year since the inception, because he had been in charge of the chamber for that period of time, and he was continually a judge. They always knew they could call him. But we've had the mayor, various mayors in the past. I mean, again, it's blind judging, and they put them in a room back in the casino. We have runners that are members of the club that pick up the samples of the chili, and they're numbered. They have no idea. The judges have no idea who made what chili. And they judge based just on the chili itself. So there's really no nepotism going on there. And I think there are about a half a dozen or so judges that that someone takes charge of judges and enlists them and gets them to come to the event. And then I think when their judging is over, they actually come out and they might also participate in the judging of the best, most decorated booth, the best decorated booth, whatever. But by then they're done judging, so it doesn't really matter what what they've tasted or what they know. That and the judging is in 2 rounds. I believe they collect all of the samples both times, but the first batch they narrow down to a smaller number, maybe the final 10, and then they collect from everyone again because they don't want anybody to know who is and is not in the running, and then take those samples back and then judge of those to come up with the winners. But it's a pretty fierce competition. We've had some folks win multiple years, and surprisingly, it's not that many that are really restaurants. It's a lot of not-for-profits, like the AC guys and the Iron Chef. I'm not sure, they're not even from they come from away from Glenn County. I can't remember exactly where they've come from, but to enter the chili cook-off every year. And Ron Adams, he represented the bank, then he kind of who's the superior chili cooking team, and he just got some volunteers to come and make chili. But some of those folks are actually the winners. And the other thing we have found is, as staffing gets tighter at some of the restaurants, you ask somebody to come on a Saturday, it's difficult because they have to staff their restaurants and they can't really expend the time. So we have once upon a time, I think there were more restaurants, but now it seems like there are more just other types of organizations and groups of people that'll just come together. Hodnett Cooper Real Estate has done it. Vitality, the assisted living facility has participated in the past. The hospital has participated perennially. They are a sponsor as well as providing a chili team, and they're going to do that again this year. So yeah, it's not always the restaurants I think Bubba Garcia's has agreed this year. I think we have about 20 teams lined up, and I apologize, I don't have all their names because the gentleman in our club that's responsible for teams had gotten the flu and he wasn't able to come to the last meeting and report to us, but he's got a huge spreadsheet of all of the various people that we contact, and we kind of split that up so no one person has all that responsibility.
So that's good.
And try to, but again, getting an entity to say, sure, I'll make 15 gallons of chili. Last year, one of our members who has an insurance agency actually participated. She verified that it's a lot of work to 15 gallons of chili and, bring it to an event, keep it warm, don't burn it. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a lot. I did a couple small scale, but a company I used to work for would do a chili contest. The first year I worked for them, I entered the contest. The second year they said, can you be a judge? Because I want like all the hottest, the best. I kind of ran away with it. And so I was just, but man, I tasted some bad chilies. And one guy, all he wanted was he just wanted to be the hottest chili, like the spiciest chili. Yeah, I think it was basically tomato paste and ghost peppers. No, literally.
God.
And he's from the UK, so he didn't really understand chili to begin with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Sean, this is going to be the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. I mean, this is horrible, but it is definitely the spiciest. But it was horrible.
So I will say that we don't usually have Rotarians be the judges because, again, we want someone to think that the thing was fixed. They're people in the community. I think Michelle Johnston, when she was president of the college, she judged a year, and they've just been. It's a kind of a moving target of folks. But I know Woody had done it for many, many years and seemed to enjoy the event. And then I'd see him out strolling around talking to folks afterwards and beforehand, actually.
So how do people? Do you reach out to businesses for them to be part of the chili cook-off, or do people come to you?
Well, both. We have obviously a running list of past participants, and if you've participated a couple of years, we charge a nominal entry fee, and mainly that's just to be sure that somebody's going to show up, rather than say, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it," and then that Saturday comes and they're a no-show. It's like $20. But if you participated multiple years, then we waive that because we're pretty sure you're going to come back if you have done it in the past. So yeah, we have a running list, and then as there are new restaurants that evolve, and we try to capture those and put them on a spreadsheet, and then somebody takes them and contacts them. But like I said, we've actually had more success with non-restaurant kind of entities just because they'll get together a group of folks and come and do it. Little St. Simon's has entered a team, I believe, this year. Sea Island has participated in the past. King and Prince. I mean, it's been a variety, but again, we've had a lot of people you wouldn't suspect. 2 years ago, there was a business called a Brunette and a Bucket, and she had a cleaning service, and she came by herself and ran that booth with 15 gallons of chili. And actually, I think she ended up winning, maybe coming in third or something in one of the awards. And it was just to get her business's name out there. So there is a lot of visibility. I mean, because you're there all day Saturday, and people are coming going, and it's amazing. People, just tourists, will be tooling around in the village, and they'll come by and they'll say, "What's going on here?" And of course, I go out there at like 7 a.m. to greet the teams and get them into the proper slot. We have a lottery system. So on Thursday night, they all meet at the casino and they draw little numbers, because obviously there are probably some places on the little map that would be preferable to others.
Yeah.
So it's all a random process. They draw a number, and so when they show up on Saturday morning, say, "Oh, you're number 6. Okay, this is your spot right here," and make sure they stay in the confines of their spot, whatever. But anyway, folks will come along and say, "Well, what's going on here today?" And we tell them, and invariably they'll come back at chili time and get a ticket and participate. It's just, like I said, we got the music, and we got people bringing their pets and their kids and their, whatever. It's It's just a lot of fun.
Do you ever foresee outgrowing that location?
Well, we probably already have, but it's such a nice location.
Yeah.
We thought about possibly going over to Gascoigne, because like where the oyster roast is, but because it's a bigger venue, but it's just not as visible and it doesn't pull in the people that are tooling around the village. So what we're trying to do is, I mean, we want it to be successful. I mean, if we got the 5,000 people, I don't know where they would park, but it's kind of a good size for us, and yeah, we could probably make it bigger, but we really like the visibility of being there.
Yeah.
So we've considered it. We'll just say that.
So now running a chili cook-off, because you're dealing with food, is there anything special that you guys have to apply for?
Well, we get the counties. We rent the space from the county.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of any like health department
That's
types
tough
of
questions.
rules and that sort of thing, just because it's a very limited time event.
Yeah.
So Emily Coiner, who's our treasurer of our club, but we call her our chief chilitarian. She has run this from the beginning, and so she knows all the ins and outs, and how many supplies we need, and there are a lot of things that even you have to get a permit from the county in order to put the signs up. So tomorrow morning, I'll be out at 7 o'clock putting out signs saying chili cook-off this Saturday. But you can only post the sign for 1 week. So I'm going to put them up Sunday, and on my way home from the event Saturday, I will take them down. And now they can only be posted where we have a county directional sign. So it limits, I think there are 14 locations on the island, and I can't remember how many there are in the city of Brunswick, but we've divided up the signs, and everybody's going to put their signs out on tomorrow for the week. They're just the Red Hot Chili Cook-Off signs that we were able to reuse just as this Saturday, and they're bright yellow with red print and whatever. But you got to get the permits from the county to put the signs up, and obviously to hold the event where it's being held, and that there are a lot of little detail kind of things, but somehow she keeps all those things in her head and makes sure that everything gets done. We've got the news, the advertising, we've got radio spots, we've got a little bit of newspaper advertising, and we always do a thank you at the end of the event to thank our sponsors and that sort of thing. So there are a lot of moving parts, but she sees that they all get done, and we all show up, and it's just the 1,500 or so people that haven't bought a ticket in advance that show up that day, and nobody wants to stand in a line. So we've worked to try to streamline that process. We have little wristbands that we put on folks as they pay, and of course they have to get their spoon to taste the chili and the napkin, and of course the People's Choice tickets that they get to put in the various buckets. So all of that stuff has to be distributed, and so yeah, it takes some coordination.
Yeah, it's all that little behind the scenes stuff that people don't see.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. You don't, I mean, and it is for a relatively small club. So we're, I think, pretty proud of ourselves that we've just been able to pull it off as many years as we have, and it's been successful. And again, that we were able to give something back to the community as a result. So.
Yeah, I know for us, it's something that we look forward to every year is the chili cook-off. Yeah. It's a great event that you guys put on.
Who doesn't love chili? Come on.
Right. And we have a lot of fun with it. I have to say, most years I'm so busy working, we don't usually get to partake. But our volunteers we'll provide them with a wristband, and we won't make them work the entirety of the event, so that they can work a little while and then they can go taste chili, and we'll get some other folks to come in and help and that sort of thing. So, we appreciate the fact that we've got some folks. I reached out to some of these recipients from last year's proceeds and said, hey, our chili cook-off's coming up. Can you help? And I got an overwhelming amount of support. In fact, I'm not sure I will find a place for everybody to work. It's like, I was pleased by the fact that I had so many folks say, yeah, we want to come and help. I mean, granted, they benefit from the event. And when the allocations committee is looking to next year, they might say, well, gosh, the outreach soccer folks came and helped us pull trash. I mean, I think we should consider them for some of our allocation money, and it kind of works that way. So
that's really great. I mean, it's better to have more volunteers than be short-staffed.
Well, the Key Club of one of the local high schools just contacted us like 3 days ago looking for a project, and I said, okay, they're sending 10 students to come and
Wow.
help me. I made contact with the Filipino American Society, and they were looking for a project, and they happened to meet with our area governor for of this area for all of the Rotaries, covers about 5 or 6 clubs. Anyway, she said, well, I know an event that's coming up. So she put me in contact with Beth from their organization, and she's now sending volunteers. So yeah, I'm thrilled that people are, that want to come and help us with the event. So
Gee, I wonder if anyone from the Island Players has volunteered.
I think we've asked them before to enter a team since they're right there. We did use the space in the theater one year to count the tickets because I think the other rooms were in use, but we have a couple of rooms reserved in the casita for judging and ticket counting at the end of the event. So
Yeah.
because people are always anxious to, they wait at the end to see who gets the awards. I mean, it really is.
Yeah,
There's a competition going on to get those people's votes. Some of the things that people do, they bring cowbells and those air horns and all kinds of things. So whatever they can do to get your vote, they will.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. A couple years we've waited to see who wins the People's Choice Award.
Yeah, that's
You're like, you want to see, like, I really love their chili, and you're like hoping that they would win.
yeah. And it's interesting because sometimes the People's Choice is nothing like the blind judging.
Yeah.
So again, I feel like some of that is the fact that you've met the people,
Yeah.
you see their display. Maybe they put a corn chip on the top of their chili and somebody else did. I mean, who knows what prompts people to put the ticket in a basket, or maybe they know somebody that's working on that chili team. But it's a interesting to watch, to people watch.
That would be a good, so if someone's doing a psychological like study to see what's the difference, how does the blind testing.
Yeah.
And
How does they compare? And sometimes there's some overlap, but but not always. I mean, it's
Yeah, because I could see like People's Choice, and I'm guilty sometimes, a little favoritism.
Like, well, my if you hadn't seen the smoke, my brain's going around about this chili contest. Like, we could do a UNOB podcast chili contest, a team. We got 3 already. And because you said the idea of putting a little chip on top, a little cheesecake square to wash it down.
there you go.
Kind of put out put down the heat a little bit. We'll make it nice and spicy.
Well, I'll definitely put y'all on the list for next year.
Yeah.
Or there's still a week to go if you want to put.
Oh no, we got together the week. Now we have rehearsals and
Yeah, we got that show coming up.
I know. I signed up yesterday to come work the door. I'm super interested to see this because I saw it on off Broadway last year, and as a stage manager, I was like, how did they do all of that? And then I found out that our Island Players are doing that show, and I'm like, how are they going to do all of that? I told Alicia, I'm like, whoa, I can't wait to see how.
we're still trying to
Figure it out. We're not going to give away any secrets, but
yeah.
I'll tell you, a number of shows that I've done, and that goes even before Island Players. This has been the most fun, but also the most difficult because the timing. There's so much timing.
Wow.
And it's not really blocking; it's choreography.
Yes. Yeah. To be in the right place at the right time as things are falling off the walls and the mantle and the guy in the booth, like at the off-Broadway production, you could see him up, and I'm like, how are they gonna? I'll be excited to see how all that plays out. Actually,
It's gonna, I believe this is probably gonna be the funniest show that's been on that stage.
yeah. Oh, when I saw the production itself is hilarious. I was just more mystified as to how are they going to make some of these happen from a stage management perspective as well. I'm just watching. I tend to watch those things anyway, even when I go to a Broadway show. I enjoy the acting and all of that, but I'm always watching to see how the sets work and because that's mostly what I.
Yeah, I do the same thing. Like I
Used to, growing in Boston, we used to go to the Lang Center, and they'd have the Nutcracker there and things like that. But I got mezzanine seats for Phantom of the Opera, so we can look down on the stage. And that scene when he's going through the tunnels of France in the boat, I don't know how they did it. They had candles, looked like candles all over the stage. And as the boat went across the stage, it looked like the candles were rippling, and but they had it all disguised because they had a little layer of smoke over the whole thing. So, but I was like, God, I still don't know how to do that. How they did that. It's mystifying what they can do on stage. When you think about what they do with the movies now, but what you can still do on stage.
On a live stage, yeah.
And people can sit back, well, how did they do that? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just in case anyone's wondering, it's the play that goes wrong. That's what we're talking about.
And it opens
March 7th.
March 7th through 9th. And then the next 2 weekends, actually. Yeah.
So if you
the
want,
second weekend.
I guess we're this is called the shameless plug. If you want to come out and say hi to Boone and the Beer, we're both in the show.
Yeah.
And we'd love to see you come out and say hi after the show. We'll be out there.
Yeah, but make sure you do the chili cook-off the week before, though.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, at least they're not conflicting.
That's right.
But yeah, and let's go back. Let's talk about the Rotary Club.
Sure.
Tell us, what is the Rotary Club? What it's about?
Okay. It's funny because I've been involved in Rotary. I was just thinking on my way over here. This will be my 30th year because I joined. I was in a charter club back in West Virginia, which is where I came from. There had been a lunch club in the city for years in Wheeling, West Virginia. And oftentimes a new club is spawned from a lunch club, which is what happened to the Golden Isles Club, is kind of a hybrid of two breakfast clubs that merged 12 or 14 years back. But they were an offshoot of the St. Simon's Lunch Club, where some folks like me, I worked in healthcare for my career. And it would have been very difficult for me to get out for a lunch meeting. And so when I was living in West Virginia and someone said, hey, we're starting a breakfast club, I said, oh, I think I probably got a better chance of participating on a regular basis if I went first thing in the morning. And even though I had some conflicts, once upon a time, Rotary had sort of a attendance requirement, which they've relaxed a lot of that. But Rotary International is an organization of over 2 million members worldwide. And they have an amazing foundation. They have almost completely eradicated polio throughout the world. There are only 2 countries left where they've had cases, and there's some of those in the Middle East that are very, very difficult to get out into the hinterland and with some of the politics and religion and that sort of thing to be able to vaccinate. But it's been an amazing process. But they have an amazing foundation that does grants for providing wheeled devices for folks that have contracted polio in India, as an example. And one year we participated in an international grant to provide sewing machines for women in India that they could make a living with them, and desks for kids that sat on the floor in some of these countries to try to learn. It just wasn't that conducive. But those are through donations from various sources, but many from the Rotarians themselves. And in the state of Georgia, there are 3 districts. So there's this whole hierarchy because you got 2 million members. Obviously, it breaks down. So you have your individual clubs. And then there are, I believe, 55 clubs in our district, which is 6920, District 6920. And then there's also a District 6900 and 6910 in the state of Georgia. So the state of Georgia houses 3 distinct districts. One is pretty much Atlanta. My district runs obviously down to the Florida border, all the way up to Augusta, over to Macon. It's huge. Area-wise, it's huge. And I'm not sure how many members we have in that particular group. So we have a district conference once a year, and it moves around sort of on the whim of whoever is the district governor at the time. So last year it was at Jekyll. And this year, again, it's going to be at Jekyll. But the interesting thing is all 3 districts are going to meet at the same time in the same venue, which is, I'm still trying to fathom that, because Jekyll has now gotten enough beds to house the convention center could have always housed a group that size, but there wasn't maybe enough housing. And I'm still not sure. There'll probably still be some folks that will stay in Brunswick or, in the county somewhere, but maybe not necessarily on Jekyll. But that will be over 1,000 attendees, and that's taking place at the end of April. So I've only ever attended a district conference that encompassed our district. And they've been held in Milledgeville and Sandersville and Augusta and various places, but it's been at Jekyll a few times. So it's kind of interesting. It's a Jekyll twice in 2 years, so I don't even have to stay over there. I just commute back and forth. But they do also, they highlight projects that other clubs are doing and give you ideas for fundraisers that other clubs are doing. They do some recognitions. They give sub-club citation awards based on things that your club may have achieved, and they're achievable despite the size of your club. They base it on more on a percentage basis. So a club with 200 members is going to have sort of a different threshold for some of the achievements than a club of my size, which is 28 members. So it's kind of a recognition sort of thing, but a lot of people can highlight projects that they're working on. There's a big push for literacy, and some of the clubs have taken that on. My club, as an example, we adopted Goodyear School years ago, and we have a child in crisis program there. We help with their food pantry, their clothes closet. We have readers like myself that go there once a week and read to the kids. We have some that are mentors and have an individual child that they meet with on a regular basis, but we believe strongly in that. And just this morning, I was out helping keep Golden Isles beautiful. We have had a stretch of a highway on St. Simon's for quite a while, and today we began to adopt one in Brunswick. So I spent the morning picking up trash, but again, it beautifies the community, and it's a way of giving something back. So we always like being able to do that. But Rotary clubs all over the world are doing those sorts of things, and occasionally we get visiting Rotary clubs. We had one from Serbia about 6 months ago, and they were into some robotics and some things that were really, really interesting. We also have Georgia uniquely has a group study exchange where they accept applications for exchange students from other countries, and they come here and spend the entire year. They study at the college or one of the colleges in Georgia, and that's not all Rotaries have that particular program, but it was started here quite a few years ago, but they've kept that running. They have a youth leadership program for rising high school juniors and seniors that we send kids to that every year. And actually, it's been housed at the College of Coastal Georgia the last couple of years. So the kids come from all over our district and attend those, and it's a way to help them develop some leadership skills for when they go off to college.
What year was the Rotary formed?
Well, you're asking me a question that I can't answer off the top of my head, but I want to tell you it's close to 100 years if it's not already that. In fact, I think the Brunswick Club just celebrated their 50th anniversary as a Rotary Club. Ours is obviously much newer, but it's been around for a while. And as a woman, I will just say until about the 90s, it was an entirely men's organizarian. There were Rotarians that were the spouses that could participate in some things. But, at some point in the 90s, and we actually have an honorary member in our club that was one of the first women Rotarians. She lived in Chicago. She is still with us. She lives at Vitality, but she was a dean of a school of nursing in Chicago and was one of the very first women admitted to Rotary. And she's had perfect attendance for more than 50 years, I believe, between her club in Chicago and then coming here and joining a club. So you can, if you move, that's what happened with me. I belonged to a club in West Virginia, and when I came here, I looked for a Rotary Club. At the time, there was a breakfast club that was meeting at Epworth on my way to work on the island, and I started going there, and we now meet at the hospital. But it has to be something that fits your schedule. We even have satellite clubs now that you don't even have to attend meetings. You can kind of get together for some socials and get together and do projects. But I think Rotary's trying to change with the times because not everybody is up for a weekly meeting commitment. I mean, it suits some folks, but not everyone. But they still want to participate in some fashion.
So you have like breakfast club and lunch club. So that's the time you meet?
Right. Our club meets at 7:30 in the morning, and the hospital is nice enough because we meet at one of the conference centers at the hospital. They cater our breakfast for us, and that's incorporated into the due structure, of course. The Brunswick Club is currently meeting at the Embassy Suites Hotel, and they have a conference room upstairs, and they provide lunch. The St. Simon's Club was meeting at the Best Western. I'm pretty sure that's where they are now. They had been at Sea Palms for a period of time. But again, those are catered lunches. So usually, you don't see too many dinner meetings anymore, although I think one of the clubs down in Camden County may meet at dinner time. But most of them are predominantly at breakfast or lunch, thinking that folks, Rotary, if you've ever seen the symbol for Rotary, it looks like a cog.
Yeah.
And it's got the little spokesman. It's a wheel. And the whole idea was to have people from various walks of life, a place for them to get together, that they could work on projects, they could do things, but also to get to know folks in other areas besides the one in which they work.
Right.
And at one time you had to have a classification, and there were only 2 people from each classification. So if you got to the third banker, you had to go through something to get it. They've changed with the times, and they've abandoned all of that. And you don't have to be a business owner or what. You just have to be somebody that's interested in giving back to the community. And it's not as stringent as it once was, I think, is what I would want to say.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a criteria or?
No, not really. Usually you're recommended by somebody else that's in the club. And what we do is, we're out and about. We don't go through the yellow pages and just try to find people, but you just meet people in your various walks of life, and you might talk about Rotary, or they come to we usually have literature available at the chili cook-off,
right?
Little brochures and things, because some people say, what is Rotary? I don't even know. And so you can enlighten them. And then if they have an interest, like some of our not-for-profit folks have expressed an interest because they've been recipients. They said, well, I really like this club, and they've come to get check presentations, and they join us. And some of it's just about a fit. I'm sure every club has its own personality, and they're not all the same. And you might be a good fit for one and not another. For me, like I said, it was more about I couldn't take 2 hours out of my day at lunchtime to go to a meeting, but breakfast meeting on my way to work was kind of convenient. So that's how I ended up in the club that I did in West Virginia, and again when I moved to Georgia. So
there's the Rotary, and about the Elks Club and Lions Club, Kiwanis. They're all pretty much kind of like the same thing.
They do. Well, yeah. I think they're all community oriented, want to give things back. They're all part of a larger organization that do some things nationally. I know, like the Lion. My dad was a Lion, and they were always about vision and sight. And they collected used eyeglasses and saw that they got refurbished and provided to folks that couldn't afford to get them otherwise. And like I said, I think with Rotary, it's kind of been polio has been our main goal, but our goal is to eradicate that relatively soon. We have another initiative. We have these little blue buckets that we put on all the tables at the meetings, and they're called cart buckets, but that's for Alzheimer's research. And because Alzheimer's has been on such a rise, and that initiative started in South Carolina, but it's now spreading across this country in terms of it's pretty much in the Southeast we're collecting, and other clubs are as well. But what we do is the donations that go into these little cart buckets, it's whatever loose change you have in your pocket or whatever you throw in the cart bucket, we submit that, and the district, well, it's even bigger than that, it's the entire Southeast, they collect applications for grants of folks doing research on Alzheimer's. So that the money that we collect there goes to these folks that are trying to make breakthroughs in Alzheimer's research. So, and again, those of us in the club, everybody knows someone or is touched by somebody has had to deal with that, whether it's a friend or a family member. And so, it's we feel like that's kind of a worthwhile
That's
process.
amazing. That's wonderful. My dad was Lions, and he was the president of a Lions Club. So I was like baby Simba for a while. But yeah, I remember as a young kid collecting, going around and collecting with my dad, collecting eyeglasses. They bring it to the Lions Club. They also sold Christmas trees at Christmas time.
Yeah, and I think it's the Kiwanis Club that does that right there on 17. And different clubs have their own. It's kind of difficult because everybody's vying for the same dollars. You want to come up with a fundraiser that's the people enjoy, but is kind of unique, that says, hey, I want to participate in this, or I want to at least attend the event or whatnot. But again, every community has, different things. My dad's club, they had a pancake breakfast, and then they did a couple of spaghetti dinners too, just again, as fundraisers in my hometown, and donated those proceeds back. So I don't know that they're diametrically different from each other, philosophically different, because they all kind of say that, at least from what I know about others that I don't belong to, kind of try to do the same
Yeah, they do.
thing.
I was an elk for a little bit when I was out in California, because I was kind of recruited, because Alameda, which is a little island, kind of like St. Simon's, but right next to Oakland, had an Elks Club, and I was doing community theater, and they had a beautiful theater in their club. Beautiful. Oak flooring, oak wainscoting, hadn't been used in years. And so a couple of guys that I was in shows with got in, and then they pulled me in, and we refurbished this place. We wired it, new lights, new sound. I did all the woodwork myself. and we put on Nonsense. It was the first show that we put on, and it was like we had a live band, and it's like really great. The live band was dressed up as monks. So hearing all these guys dressed up as monks playing music, and the show went off, with the hit. And of course, all that money was used for donations to give back to the community, mostly back into like the Oakland community, because there's a lot of disadvantaged families that they were trying to help. And so that was a great thing. I was only here for like a year and a half or so because then I ended up having to move. But I think philosophically, most of these clubs are all, like you said, kind of the same. They try to do something to give back to the community. And it's just, if someone's out there looking for something to do like that, it's just kind of what fits with you.
Right. Like I said, it's a personality of the club itself. And then if the goals that they have are in line with your own personal agenda, I guess you would say. But I remember back in West Virginia, the district that I was in at that time, they had decided to build a field for folks with developmental disabilities. So they housed the Special Olympics there ultimately, and it was in Clarksburg, West Virginia, I believe. But I mean, and that was a big project. It was well into six figures that it was going to cost to convert this field to make it handicapped accessible in essence. And they were able to do that. And, again, there are things but at least in terms of Rotary, they go beyond the borders of whatever county you live in or whatever district you're in to do some international things. And they have a lot of like matching grants and things. So if the club has so many funds, or you can apply to the foundation and you can do some things, there are domestic types of grants, but then there are also some of these international ones that I mentioned previously. And Hamza Thoda, who is in the St. Simon's Club, is very, very knowledgeable about the international types of grants. And he's kind of the one that gets all the local clubs to chip in something. And I swear he could take $1,000 and turn it into $100,000. I don't know how he does it right out to me, but then he gets these big dollars, and then we go do some of these things in countries that no one little club would be able to afford to do it. But you pull the things together and you get the matching funds from the foundation. And it's I really believe it's a worthwhile organization. We have there's a categorization. There was a gentleman named Paul Harris, and I don't know that he's the gentleman that founded Rotary, but when you make donations to the foundation, which is purely voluntary, you don't have to do that as far as being a member of the club or anything. But when you get to like $1,000 threshold, you become a Paul Harris Fellow. Well, we have folks that are Paul Harris plus 6 or 7 because over time they've donated to the foundation and again, that's the seed money that they use to get matching funds and whatever to go out and do some of these very lofty projects that, again, no one club could probably ever afford to pull the things off, but they're able to do it with the help of the foundation.
Is the chili cook-off the only big fundraiser that the Rotary Club does?
My Rotary Club. Now, the St. Simon's Club, and I'm not sure that they're still doing this. I think they might still, but around the time of the RSM, they did kind of a Meet the Players fundraiser. Okay. That was kind of their fundraiser. I'm not quite sure what the Brunswick Club has done, and the Jekyll Club has some projects too. Everybody has their own. And again, that's part of the complexion of the club. I mean, some folks like to do fundraising. Some say, just let me write the check. It just depends. This is just one that stuck with us. And kind of when people join the club, we say, well, this is our one fundraiser. We're not going to ask you. We want you to sell some tickets. You sign up for some committee to take part in it. But, we're not beating on people for money every week or working on another project. And some of those other things I mentioned, like the reading and the trash pickup or the whatever, that whoever wants to get up on Saturday morning at 6 o'clock have at it. Some folks I've never seen them at a trash pickup, but that's okay because they do other things. Yep. Everybody has their favorite things that or things that touch their heartstrings, that say this is something I want to participate in. So
I think they're fun. And the chili kickoff, and then you have you missed it, but the stew bouillie that was just happened.
That's the Kiwanis and that.
That's the Kiwanis. I like to see more of stuff like that. It doesn't have to be a cook-off or like that, but just I think it's an easy way to get people to donate without actually having to donate.
And it seems like food attracts people.
It does.
Right. I mean, it does. I mean, it's an attractor. I mean, I've been places where they do a barbecue or they do, the oyster roast is tonight, and it sells out every year. I mean, for whatever reason, that's that's an attractor because it's an event that there are other things going on, but there's food involved.
I would love to go to the oyster roast, but I'm always outvoted at home on that one every single time.
I've done it once, and I learned how to shuck an oyster, which was new to me, being from a landlocked state that didn't have any oysters for many years. But no, it's a great event. And that's for the land trust.
Yeah.
That's their. And see, everybody has their signature fundraiser, and if you find one that works, you hang on to it because coming up with a new idea or something that is going to catch on and attract people. And the chili cook-off has kind of done that for us. People will email me or call and say, do you have any tickets? Like, yeah, I mean, you can show up the day of, you can get a ticket from me, whatever, but they keep track of when it is. Yeah. And we put the signs up as a reminder, and we do a little bit of advertising, but it seems a lot of people are return customers, so that's a good thing.
Now, is there a threshold of how many people? So you don't.
No.
There's no fear of selling out of tickets.
It's an open park. No, I'll keep selling tickets as long as people as long as people show up. I think parking is more the rate determining step. When you get down to the village, they're down at the Methodist church and around and about the
Parked by the baseball fields.
area. Yes, Mallory Park. But they can't all fit in that one little area. And of course, the Postel Park, which is that area in front of the casino, not the one on the ocean side. That's where the team's all set up and the band. So we eliminate that park because we've rented that park for the day. And the teams can come in and drop off supplies and whatnot, and they park elsewhere. And they tell us to try to kind of park off-site a little way so that the participants have a place to park. And then you just got the normal traffic in the village. But it's actually kind of fun. I've never had anybody come in growling at me because they had to park, a few minutes walk away or whatever. But it's like I said, it's just fun to have that many people, and we've played with the layout over the years to try to refine it and open it up so we don't have bottlenecks. So we don't. The biggest thing is people buy tickets and they always think they have to beeline to the very first booth. Yeah. Well, it's kind of a U shape if you're familiar with that parking lot. And truly, you could start at either end. You can eat as many of those chilies as many times as you want. There is absolutely no limit. If you got a wristband on, you can eat 100 cups of chili. We don't care. I mean, until they run out. And some folks do, and some of the providers will run out of chili if it's really popular. But one of the goals is to just try to disperse people. You don't have to do them in order. You could bounce around, or you could start at this end and come back. So we're going to try to do that a little bit just to ease some congestion, that as soon as someone buys a ticket, they think they have to go to the very first booth that they see. But they're all available and ready at 11:30 when the event starts.
You ever think about having ticket entrance on both sides?
Well, but then you got to double the volunteer staff. If you have enough volunteers, then you have to double the means of taking credit cards, as an example. Right. Or what so we have one sort of main area, but we have folks that are sort of out there that if they've already got a ticket, we can give them the spoon and they don't even have to go through the ticket booth at all, and then they can start at the other end. And we do have some arrows trying to direct people so that it disperses the crowd a little bit more. But that some of that's human nature, and you can't always control that. But we can kind of direct them. So
you can pay with credit card for your ticket if you wanted to?
We have a Square machine. Okay. So yeah.
Cash is king.
Cash is king, and it's $10. So it's not. I mean, it's a number, But no, we have the capability to do.
Yeah, especially now as was it a touchless technology?
Where money anymore? The Salvation Army, they got a QR code that you can make a donation without having to have any money in your pocket.
What else? Society. We've got all the contest.
Oh, we have Venmo as well. I forgot.
Venmo. Oh yeah, that's right.
Venmo's also available. Yeah.
What else is there? You have live music. You've got the participants who are giving away their chili. Is there anything else that's there?
Well, I'm told you guys might be doing a podcast from there next week. If you want to play your own show, one of the radio stations is part of the advertising package we bought. I think they do some live remote from the event. We've talked about, could we bring, I think one of the car dealerships wanted to bring, so the problem is space, right. Just making sure that you got parking and so we've been hesitant to add anything else to the event just because people are coming to eat chili. Like I said, we got a Coke wagon and hot dogs. One of the guys, they love to grill hot dogs and sausages and stuff on there. So, we've got that available as well. But yeah, as far as other
like arts and crafts or stuff
That-
like that.
Well, one year we had one of the a gentleman agreed to make our actual get prizes, and he was a metallurgist, for lack of a better term. And he asked if he could set up a booth and sell his wares there. But I think there was only one time. We do have, this is interesting. So one year, Georgia Pacific was a participant, and as part of their selling point, they were giving out Frisbees. And people decided they were going to use the Frisbees as plates and put their little chili cups on there. So we now sell Frisbees for like $1. We get Frisbees and from one of the local, providers of those kinds of promotional materials. Anyway, we sell Frisbees, and we used to sell T-shirts, but sizes and leftovers. And we kind of decided that was probably more trouble than it was worth, and kind of got out of that business. For several years, we ran a lemonade and iced tea booth. But again, it was labor intensive, and with the club being so small, it took a chunk out of our workforce just to run that one booth with all these other things going on. So things have morphed over the years, but anyway.
Yeah, that Frisbee thing's a good idea. I remember that year with the Frisbee, and we're like, this is great. You just put your stuff on there.
So then we got in touch with the provider and said, hey, and Island Promos, and so we got the Frisbees from them, and then and a lot of people made donations up. They'd get a couple Frisbees and give us a $5 bill, whatever. So we made a little bit of money on the Frisbees because they weren't that expensive, and we are going to have some of those available. I mean, a limited quantity, not the 2,000 people that we expect.
First 100 people, we get a Frisbee.
They can, if they purchase one, but like I said, it's $1. It's not a big deal. But people really found that handy when they were juggling things. That was like their little circuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, it worked for that. They might have gotten one of the People's Choice Awards that year because people just loved getting those Frisbees, and it had their name on it, whatever. So.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a juggling act when you're trying to get like the little cup, and you have the spoon, and then
if you get a beverage, and because eventually you're going to have to drink something if you eat enough chili, especially a hot one. So yeah, then you got a drink to juggle. Now we do have some tables and things if somebody wants to sit down and eat their chili. I mean, it's enough for maybe seating for 50 or so, but it's not like everybody could sit for the entire time. But people kind of come and go, or folks that just need to take a little bit of a rest. And there are some benches around the park that they can use. They can go up into the casino. They can go down around to Neptune around the back if they choose. I mean, once you got the wristband, you're good for 3 hours. So 2.5.
And then I used to throw out the spoon by accident, and I'm like, ugh.
I know, and it's funny because we're not super policemen, but and it's a fundraiser. But it's amazing how many people. Once upon a time, we gave those stickers, and they had the little Red Hot Chili Cook-Off logo on our logo. And well, for one thing, they didn't always stick on all fabrics.
Yeah,
like they might fall off. But the people that just kind of sneak in like the side, I mean, you can't really cordon off that area. It's a park. And come in and eat chili. And so we tell is somebody going to turn someone away that comes up without it? So we evolved to the wristbands, and even that, I mean, I don't think there's people truly policing, but you'll have the people who come up and say, oh, I dropped my spoon. But meanwhile, they don't have a wristband, but you're going to give them a spoon. And then some of the food providers, some of the chili providers have extra spoons that they just happen to have. And they'll give it to somebody. Well, then off they go. I mean, you could bring a spoon from home. I mean, but
That's what I was thinking about.
It's a fundraiser, so it would be nice if you made the donation in order to get the spoon, and you still bring a spoon from home. But if you kind of donated to the event, it would be very.
I might just, of course, buy the ticket, but bring a spoon from home because I tend to accidentally throw out those
plastic spoons. Are not. Not always. I guess they beat the bamboo and sometimes. But yeah, you're right. I mean, a real spoon, I would use a tablespoon if I were at home, like a soup spoon. But these are more like teaspoon size. But the little souffle cups aren't huge either. So
yeah. Do you guys provide those little cups, or does
we do? We provide every participant gets a case of the cups. They're not expected to bring those just their chili, but no, we provide the cups and we'll refill them if they need to. And we provide the napkins and the silverware, plasticware, I say. So yeah.
What are the do's and don'ts for a participant? I mean, what can't they bring? Can they bring like beverage, like some kind of soda fountain?
Well, since we sell the beverages, we ask them not to provide, not to sell bottled water at their booth as an example. I mean, they're providing the chili. Like I said, some folks will throw a few corn chips. Some of them will have saltines. They can do that. Something that goes with cornbread. I've seen people put a little piece of cornbread on their chili. Then all of that is legal. We just don't want them to compete with, because I guess we kind of have the corner on the beverage. You can certainly bring your own in. You can bring your own koozie or, your own beverage. We've looked into alcohol sales, but it's kind of complicated, and we just do Coke, Coke products and water. So yeah, but we would ask that they not be selling other things besides just providing their chili.
I was going to ask.
Other than that, the rules are pretty relaxed.
I was going to ask about alcohol sales, but it's complicated.
It is.
It is.
And we know there are some folks that have done that with the brewery downtown.
Yeah.
And but I mean, there's some licensing issues, and then there's some liability too.
Yeah.
Because we can't control how many people come up, and then the age thing and so we have explored that again, because we've seen others do it, but we've not embraced that. So.
Speaking about liability, do you have to take out some kind of liability for?
Rotary has some umbrella kind of coverage of things. I'm not sure if we have to take out anything separately for this. I think we're covered under that policy. But yeah, obviously there is you're in a park, and while, we're running that park for the day, and we're providing as safe an environment as we can.
Yeah. Fight over chili. It's like, this is better chili than that one.
You're right. I'd be more worried about somebody slipping on a spilled product or something like that would say, well, yeah, Rotary provided this chili and then I fell, or I don't know, food poisoning. I mean, boy, never had anything like that ever happen. I'll just say that.
Chili is mostly beef based.
Somebody does a white chicken chili. They've gotten unique a few times. So yeah, there's no rules about the ingredients are up to you.
Pork based is where you'd be concerned, because at a certain, I used to own a couple restaurants, and if you had pork products like on a pizza, like sausage pizza, if you have that out in display and you're selling that slice, you still have to maintain a certain temperature.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was like a meatball, which is a beef, then it just applied with the pork because the pork had something that could generate some kind of thing that make you sick. But I think with most chilies, it's beef based. I personally have been using turkey lately, because usually with the beef, you got to cook it, drain it, and then put it back in the pot. The turkey is great. I just throw it right in there.
It's lean to begin.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't have to really drain it after I cook it. And you can't tell it's turkey. If I were to give it to someone to eat it, you wouldn't know. Really?
I think it's the seasonings to me make the chili. So yeah, you could start with probably any meat, but if it's seasoned right, you're right. It's got that chili taste, whatever it is that their secret ingredients or spices that they want to use. And some of these people do keep their recipes close to the chest, because especially if they've won in the past and they're very popular, they're gonna replicate that.
Oh, I get it all the time. Oh, can I get your recipe for your cheesecake? Like, no.
That's my secret.
No.
So I'm just curious, why did you choose this time of year for the chili cook-off, and let's say not fall, when people think about chili?
Well, it's been the first Saturday in March as long as I can remember. I think, number one, we just had very good luck with the weather. That year we're not in hurricane season.
That's true.
As you can see, we've had a few events that have gotten postponed due to storms.
That's true.
Not to say that, but typically by November, that's over, doesn't come back up again till June or so. So I think they've probably figured that was a safer time. Might have been the availability of the venue, but it has seemed to work for us.
Yeah.
We start planning in the fall, and we send requests out for sponsors and things sometimes before the end of the year, so that folks that have businesses that run on a calendar year budget, they can set aside hopefully funds to help sponsor our event. And so from that perspective, I think that timing has seemed to work for us. But it's also been well attended that time of year. And, I don't know that anybody's really done like a true weather study, but when you've had a multitude of years without any adverse weather events, you might say, oh, I think we need to stick with this date. But other than that, I'm not the true historian Emily would be. because I've been involved with it the last maybe 14 years, but not since its very inception, and she most likely has. But that it's like I said, it's been the first Saturday in March for as long as I've been involved with the group.
It seems like it's always been a very great window of weather. It's kind of you're done with the winter. I mean, winter here is like a week long anyway, but you're done with the winter. It's more of that springtime feel. And
an ideal day is if it truly holds true to form, and they're saying today like it's going to be 68. That's like it's not too hot because people don't want to eat chili when it's 90 degrees. Yeah, and you don't want, if you really would rather not rain, you don't really want it to be too cold either, because then people are coming up and saying, do you have coffee? Do you have hot chocolate? And here we have a Coke wagon and water. We're not prepared to serve a hot drink. Because most years we don't have to deal with that. But again, we solidify that date and book everything based on that date. We can't control the weather, but I think we've had pretty good luck with the weather at that particular time of year, which is and it's not football season. And they're right. People, you pick a Saturday and, and there's a big game and you're going to lose some of your participants. There's not a whole lot going on in this, the sports world. The beginning of March, you're kind of in between some seasons and baseballs and spring training. And so, I'm sure there's probably more thought put into it than I can even.
Hockey and basketball are still doing their thing, but no one's really that interested in around that stuff around here.
Right.
Anyway.
Right. Well, not that it's going to pull people away from this event per se, and again, it's over by 2:00. You could, if you had an event, you could still do it. But football, sometimes that's an all day thing. If you go and tailgate and the drive to wherever the game is you're attending, that sort of thing. That's like an all day. At least for me, it seemed like an all day event when I used to have season tickets.
So how does someone become a Rotarian?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of it is just referral. We've had several new members this year that they've just encountered other folks that are in the club or heard about Rotary. We have one gentleman, he's a physician at the hospital actually. His father was a Rotarian back in Perry, Georgia, and he set up his practice here, and he actually contacted us. We didn't even reach out to him, and he said, I'm interested in becoming involved in Rotary, and he is. Sometimes, so I read the local newspaper, and I noticed that there was a new vice president of human resources at the health system, and it was after I had retired. But when they wrote his little blurb about him, they said, and he's interested in, being involved in community events. I got his email address and I just made a cold call out to him and said, hey, we have a Rotary Club that meets right in the hospital and it's at breakfast. You could come and go to work. He came the next week and joined, and he's been a member ever since. And that was just, I didn't even know him. I just read about him in the paper, but it kind of clicked because he said he was interested and he was new to the area, didn't really know anybody other than the people he met in the hospital recruitment process, and he came and joined us, and it's been a great member. So a lot of it is more or less word of mouth. I mean, someone could just walk in someday and say, I'm interested in Rotary. And what we typically do, we do have an application, and they'll kind of send something out and say, we ask the folks come to a couple of meetings just to see if it's a good fit for them. Like I said, they all have their own personalities, the clubs do, and maybe one of the other clubs would be a better fit or a better time of day or whatever. But we'll say, just come a few times. We don't charge anything. We don't charge, if someone comes, some clubs will say, well, if you owe us $10 for lunch, or we don't do that because we have a buffet breakfast. It's, we kind of have a set fee. So say, just come and see if you think this fits you. And we usually have them do that 3 times. And then if they really are interested, we have a membership person that's a membership chair of our club, and he'll stay with him after a meeting and just kind of go over Rotary stuff, like this is the due structure and this is what we do, these are some of the projects that we're in, to see if they really are fit. Then he'll send something out to the club and say, hey, you probably all met so and so and they've been coming to meetings, like what do you think? I really don't know of anybody that's been blackballed, so to speak, but at least we get a chance to get to know them and they get a chance to know us. And again, I don't think we're ever going to be a 150 member club, but like sometimes you say, we meet at 7:30, and they'll look at you and say, in the morning?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's a breakfast club. Yeah. Because again, that fit me, but not everybody's a morning person, and maybe a lunch club would suit that better, or one of the satellite clubs where they just kind of do more, it's more social and project oriented, and it's not a structured club, kind of thing. But, so yeah, you lose people due to relocation, attrition, various things. But we've stayed between 25, 35 members for the whole time that the club's been in existence. So that, and it's actually kind of a nice number because people don't have assigned seats, you know. I mean, I've attended clubs where they look at you like you're sitting in my seat. Well, who knew? You know, if you're visiting, you don't know that. But our folks are pretty personable. They're all pretty much morning people, or they wouldn't have chosen that club. And so it's a pretty welcoming. I mean, most people that attend say they feel very welcome there. So, and again, they probably would at others. It's just like I said, all the personalities and of different clubs are different. But we've had very few people come and say, nah, I'm not interested. Now, somebody that has a business that they're trying to promote, you know, the St. Simon's Club is a larger club, the Brunswick Club slightly larger club. Maybe that suits their needs and that they want to make more business contacts. And some of the folks in my club are retired, some are not. I mean, we have a nice mixture. We have a pretty decent age range, 30s to 80s. I mean, so it's a pretty diverse group in the sense that, you know, we do have some people that are retired, but they're involved in, you know, other organizations or on boards or whatever. And then there's some that are, you know, they're still in the workforce. So it's kind of a nice mix of folks. And
Nice.
yeah.
Now, this is going to be I don't know if this is a tough question or not, but you know, you have your club and then you have the Jekyll clubs. How come there's not just one big Glenn County club?
Well, again, it's sort of a personality thing. Like when I came, there was a breakfast club on St. Simon's and there was one in Brunswick. Their memberships were declining to the point where they could do more coming together. And we merged two clubs about 12 years ago, and that can happen. Some of it is just location. Like I wouldn't have joined a St. Simon's Lunch Club when I worked in Brunswick because just to get onto the island, you know, some of it's just logistics.
Yes.
And not to say I could live in Brunswick and belong to the St. Simon's Club, vice versa. Our club we've got folks from all over the county. In fact, we have one that just moved to Jessup, and I'm a little worried I might lose her because Jessup has a club. She was living in McIntosh, and they don't have a club. But Jessup does, but she says, nope, she's going to drive an hour to come to our club. I mean, she really likes our club that well that she's going to make this, if you come at 7:30 in the morning, to me is a sacrifice. She came to clean the highway this morning at 8:30, and she and her husband drove from Jessup to participate in the project. So, I mean, kudos to her, but I think she feels like she fits with our club. So, but Jekyll has its own personality. There are they have new members in the paper every week, but people that retire there, you probably figured out. I mean, that's like it's a little bit of a different culture. I belong to the art association over there and I sing over there. And so I know a lot of people over there, but people that are on Jekyll are Jekyllites, and they're probably not going to come to Brunswick or St. Simon's for a meeting. So it suits them. They meet at the Jekyll Island Club. As far as I know, they still meet there. I've been to their meetings several times. And, you know, that suits them. And the Brunswick folks, and the St. Simon's folks, a lot of times they do live in one place or the other. Ours, like I said, is kind of a hybrid of the two. And the hospital's kind of a central location. I mean, everybody can get there in 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And the hospital's been nice enough to provide us the meeting space for quite some time for us to meet there. And they provide the food service for us. And so it fits. I guess I didn't say much. So the meeting structures are pretty much the same, I think, with clubs. You know, we this month we aren't doing programs because we're preparing for the chili cook-off. So we kind of devote the month of February's meetings, and we meet every Wednesday morning to the preparation for the cook-off. But ordinarily, we have a speaker and a program every week, and that's another really interesting thing. You meet people from all walks of life, and the members bring the speaker in. So we assign them. Some clubs assign a month at a time. Some clubs have a speaker chair that provides speakers for the year. I think in my club would implode if you asked one person to find that many speakers, but we just assign them. So everybody gets one or two a year because it kind of follows the alphabet, and different people, because we all have different backgrounds, bring in different speakers. And I've heard some really fascinating, stem cell therapy to basket weaving to the animal shelter to the arts. It's whatever that particular member brings, but you meet a new person usually, and you learn something about something that they do and something that you might have never heard of before. So I think some people come for that as well, just the interaction and to learn something, to be around people that aren't in their own field necessarily, and then to hear some of the speakers. But we do a little bit of a business meeting. We have we do a prayer and a pledge at the beginning of the meeting. I usually have, as the president, have some announcements. I take anybody in the group that has any announcements to make. And then we introduce the speaker, and at the end, we present the speaker with a book that we donate to Goodyear School's library in their name, because most people don't need to walk away with a pen or some kind of keepsake. So we inscribe their name and the date into a book, and we donate those to Goodyear School.
Wow.
So, and people seem to appreciate that. And then we do a photo op, which I've been teased this year because I've been in the paper. Well, this month not, because we don't have speakers, but I was in the paper like every week for months, and then people say, "Did I just see you?" I said, "Oh, which week was that?" I have to remember what I wear, so I don't wear like the same thing 2 weeks in a row. It's like, I'm going to be in the paper. But anyway. But that's a way to get some recognition of the Rotary and the picture of the speaker and who they were. And if that sparks somebody's interest, we really don't. I think Rotary has a philosophy about not like advertising. Like, we're not going to put something out and say, "Hey, if you want to join this club, call this number." But we do try to put ourselves out there, and the district has a newsletter that will put activities that we're involved in at our club level. But, we do try to get a little bit of PR in the paper, and we've gotten some good publicity in the local paper in Elegant Island Living about the chili cook-off, because, again, it's a fundraiser that benefits the community. I mean, who doesn't want to write about that? So they've been good for us.
That's amazing. So, but you guys don't actually have like a hall, like, some places have like a hall.
No, we don't own any property. No, like I said, every club I've mentioned where they all meet, but and then they move from time to time because it's a financial thing. I mean, there are international dues and then district dues. I mean, none of that is onerous. I mean, the biggest portion of a due structure is usually the meal that and breakfast is less expensive than a lunch. So we're a pretty cost effective club in that regard, because the hospitals, has been really good with us for help provide the buffet breakfasts, and like I said, we don't charge visitors. Some clubs do. It's just a philosophical thing. But so yeah, that makes our due structure pretty affordable. It's not a very onerous thing. Not too many people have said, "Oh my gosh, I can't join because I can't afford it." But, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting us know, because I know you asked that question that I was thinking about, like, what's the difference between the two club, not the two clubs. I mean, all the different types of clubs. Because I remember when I lived on Long Island, you would drive home, whatever, you'd always see the Lions Club or the Rotary Club.
When you enter a town, sometimes all of the symbols are blazoned on one sign, and it'll say meets Wednesday.
Yeah.
There used to be a sign posted at the hospital before some of the renovation that said meets every Wednesday here, and yeah.
Yeah, I remember where I lived on Long Island. I lived in the city of Glen Cove. They had the big City of Glen Cove sign, and then underneath it would be all the different clubs. You'd have the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the Knights of Columbus, the Sons of Italy, the whatever. Like, there'll be just a bunch of, and you're like, what's the difference between all those clubs?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think by and large, they all kind of have the same basic goal in mind. And I guess there's probably some healthy competition among them, but it's just whatever suits your personality. And again, it's the personality of that individual club, not necessarily Rotary versus Kiwanis, let's say. I mean, I have a lot of good friends that are Kiwanis too. It's just that's the organization they belong to. And
yeah, you guys don't have a fight night to figure out which one.
No, but I will tell you, on the Club Citation Award that I've been working on for when they have the district conference, it's like a point system. You get a point for this and a point for that. One of the things you get a point for is collaborating. Well, two different. One, you can get a point for collaborating with another Rotary Club. You also can get a point for collaborating with another service organization, which I'm going to fulfill both of those at the chili cook-off. So it's like, oh, okay, so I'll get 2 points but they want you to collaborate with these other clubs. I mean, again, because the size of our club isn't such that if it got to be too big of a project, it would be too big for us. So for us to pull our funds together, as an example, we've had a couple of of service projects out at MAP International, where we put together those relief packages.
Yeah.
And we recruited all the clubs in the county, and we'd have 50 or so volunteers out there, and we'd put together 1,000 of those packets in an hour or two because we had the manpower to do it. They set up the assembly line, so to speak, out there. But we've done that several times. And I think the Brunswick Club organized that, and that was their way of saying, "Oh, see, we've collaborated with the other clubs on a project." But it was fun. It was. I mean, I don't mind volunteering out there. I think it's just kind of a hoot to do something mindless for a change. Where you're just now you have to put them in the packet in a certain order, but those things go to help people that truly need relief: the fires, the floods, the earthquakes, you name it. So
Yeah, we have a lot of people in the Golden Isles and Glenn County that do a lot of good work.
there are a lot of volunteers, and it's funny. You see some of the same people, and I'll say, "I see you everywhere," and they say, "Yeah, but you're there too," which means, well, I see you. But it's sometimes the same people will show up for various charity kinds of things or projects. But I mean, you have to have a heart for that, I guess. But it's a way of meeting other people, and again, you feel good when you leave some of those projects because hopefully you made a difference somewhere.
Yeah.
When I lived in West Virginia, I just always thought, well, it's great to give back to my hometown. But once I moved away, I was like, it doesn't really matter where you live. If you're helping folks, they can live anywhere, whether it's, in the Far East or whatever, that you're doing something that somebody's going to benefit from it.
Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about Glenn County, Brunswick, St. Simons, Jekyll?
I was just talking to Paul about this before we started the podcast. One of my favorite things to do is to go to Wesley Gardens in the spring when the azaleas are in bloom. I just didn't realize before I moved here there were that many different colors of azaleas. And when they're in full bloom, you walk through the woods and all of a sudden you come out and there's like this, and some of their azaleas are 8-10 feet tall and they're all different colors. And I don't know, it's just a very restful, peaceful place. And I live within walking distance. Well, we live within walking distance of that. So yeah, I can go over there and I don't know. I'll sit on the bench for a while and just not really meditate, but just reflect. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, that and the beach. I mean, I do the beach all year round. Because I lived in a landlocked state for most of my life, and I came here and it was like I walk on the beach at night and say, I can't believe I live here. Well, now that I'm retired, I go at sunrise 3 days a week, and I catch the sky before the sun comes up because I like the colors in the sky before the sun's pretty, but the colors before that and after sunset as well. But I go out and do the beach now that I don't have to go to work every day. And I greatly appreciate living here for that reason.
Well, thank you so much for coming on here, talking about the chili cook-off, the Rotary Club, and of course the Golden Isles.
If anyone's interested in joining, how do they reach out?
Well, you can come to our chili cook-off, or any Wednesday we meet at the Kemble Conference Center right on Kemble Avenue across the street from the ER at the hospital, and you can drop by there and we'd be happy to treat you to breakfast, and you can learn more about what Rotary is about.
Free food.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep on coming to meetings. No.
I'm still on the fence.
Oh, yeah, you got to come.
It's been 6 weeks.
Yeah, you've been here for 2 years. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.